Hey, what's up guys? Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I do think this video is pretty important. Last week we had a comment on our channel and I just wanted to discuss this because, you know, there may be times whenever like you look at you watch a video of ours and you're like, well, their grade doesn't really match up with what they talked about. You know, they sometimes like maybe their score is a little too low, you know. And we used to do like A+, B-,
letter grades.
Yeah, and so those kind of things, those kind of things when you look at those are a little easier to tell what they're talking about, you know. But on this, I would say we started moving over to percentages, and I just want to kind of talk about what these grades mean, because whenever you look at them, you might almost think of them as like test grades, you know, because in school sometimes test grades it's like anything below like a 70 is like a failing grade.
Yeah, so like a 60 is a pretty awful grade.
Yeah,
in class,
you know, and like a 70 is like it's like a whatever grade. Just need to get out of here in school. And so I really want to kind of push that thought away from our grades, because I feel like our grades are kind of separate on their own. It's not so much of a grade in school as much as it is like a percentage of how good the movie is. So first of all, I guess we need to start off at the top. I guess, with 90, 100%.
Yeah. I
would say 100% obviously is like us thinking this movie is perfect.
Right.
There's only been a few movies we've given this to.
Yeah, and I will say even if we give a movie or a show 100%, we might still have some flaws in that movie, but they're flaws that we can kind of overlook because of how great the rest of the movie is.
I can't remember what I've given. I know I've given Lady Bird 100%. I know we both gave The Boys 100%, Daredevil season 3 100%, and I gave Bad Times with El Royale 100%. So it's movies where, and I'm saying like if it's 100%, the flaws we have to be extremely minuscule. Okay, and then we have 90%, which 90% is like really, it's a really great movie. It practically almost is flawless.
Right. But
there might be just very small flaws that we have. And that's whenever you get to like 90 to 100, right? So whenever you get to like 98 is pretty much flawless. Except I don't want to give it up. 98 is me saying it's practically flawless, but there's just something about it that I don't want to give it 100%. And also I want to say that the reason why we did this is because whenever I give a movie an F, like let's say I gave, with the Emoji Movie, okay? I gave that movie an F because it was awful. The reason why I like to do 100% is because there's so many people working on movies. And I just want to make sure that they get the credit they deserve.
Yeah, like the Emoji Movie, if we were doing number grades when we did our Emoji Movie review, I'd probably give it a little bit of percentage because the animation was so great.
Exactly.
So I would give it a little bit of percentage to that.
Yeah, so whenever I gave the Emoji Movie an F, that almost was me saying nobody in this movie deserves credit. Yeah. But since I have a percentages, I can give the animators credit for the work that they did. The only people who had any ounce of work in that movie.
Right.
So that's another reason why we moved to percentages. Anyways, we're gonna drop down now to 80%. 80%, I want to say, is actually still really good. I would say 80% is whenever you get into that area where there actually is a decent amount of flaws. Yeah. You know? And anywhere from like 85 to 90 is pretty much very similar. 85 to 90.
Right, yeah.
You know, there's just something about them that didn't reach there.
Kind of like how we're talking about how we don't think how like a below 70 in school is failing. So it's kind of hard to put the same letter grades to the numbers. So like in school, 90 to 100 was an A, 80 to 90 was B. So it's kind of hard to do. It's kind of hard to keep those school grades with our percentages because it means so different. Because 60 to 0 isn't an F.
Yeah, exactly.
In our grading system, so you can't really put the same letter grades as schools in our system.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess we'll drop down to 70 because in 80 is that portion that's hard to talk about because it's so close to 90. It's just like what you feel, right? So 70 is the percentages I really want to talk about. 60 and 70, because 70 I feel like is that point where you're like, let's say we're talking really good about a movie and you're like It Chapter 2 was the one we got that comment on. It Chapter 2, we had a lot of flaws with it, but we talked about that we liked it. We said we liked it and stuff like that, and we got a comment saying, well, it didn't really match up too much. The way you're talking about it, like it seems like y'all liked it a decent amount, so it doesn't really make sense why y'all gave it like a 70, 75, 62, 65, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'll say, and I just want to talk about that because 70% to me doesn't mean like an okay movie.
Right.
70% to me is whenever you're saying that it's good, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, so I
pretty
gave
solid.
I gave it chapter 2 a 75. That's me saying this movie is a pretty solid movie. It just needed a lot of work because 70% doesn't mean C. 70% means 70%. 70%. That's only 30% less than like great, like
Right.
perfect.
Exactly.
So 100% is perfect, pretty much. 70% is like quite a bit less than perfect. So I'm saying it's a really solid movie. I'd watch it again. It just needs a lot of work.
Yeah, and another way of how I kind of try to look at it is if you break it down to smaller.
Oh, sorry about that.
You better turn the phone down.
What are you saying now?
If you break it down to smaller numbers, to a smaller scale, like out of 10, like 7 out of 10, I think it's easier to see how 7 out of 10 is a better grade than how most people might view a 70%.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's kind of how I try to think of my grades when I try to give a movie a grade.
Yeah, exactly.
I think of it out of a scale of 10.
And so then we get to 60%, and I think 60% is one that honestly probably completely seems like it should be a bad movie.
Right.
But to me, it isn't. To me,
Yeah.
60% is pretty much at that point where you know it's at least good.
Yeah, and to put into perspective, Rotten Tomatoes, that their system is if a critic gives a movie at least a 60%, then that's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's what do they call it? Like fresh?
Yeah, fresh.
That's considered fresh. Anything below a 60 is considered rotten.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they come up with their percentages, because they take the percentage of how many people gave it at least a 60%, and that's what the percentage comes out to be.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what our 60% is. It's not a bad movie, not at all, really. It's just a movie that needs a ton of work. Mm-hmm. It really needs to work through a lot more things before they put it out there. But it's right at that point where I know for sure I can say it's a good movie, and I might even recommend it.
Right.
That's what 60% is. So we drop down to 50%, and 50% is this weird little gray area that it's kind of hard to figure out, because 50% is me saying, if I give it right at 50, we also have to realize that we have 60 to 70, right? So 65 is like, I know it's a really good, I know it's a good movie, and it went a little bit over that.
Right.
Like a little bit, right? So 50% is this gray area where if I give it right at 50, that's your kind of choice, because 50% could either mean it is literally just right at okay, or it is literally right at bad.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way I think about it, because 50% is like, it's like I didn't really necessarily hate sitting there,
Mm-hmm.
but I would have rather been somewhere else.
Yeah, it's pretty much 50-50.
Yeah. And so then we move down to like 40%.
Yeah.
And 40% I would say is kind of, it's a bad movie. It's not a good movie, I would say. It's not a good movie. But there is something there that actually was good. Like actually something there was legitimately good.
Right.
You know, and so that's why you give it a 40%.
Yeah.
Because there was stuff there that was legit, like actually good, just not enough of it for me to say that it was good.
I try to compare grades that I've given to movies in the past whenever I give a new movie a grade. But sometimes I can't, I obviously can't compare all the grades that I've given to past movies. So sometimes a movie I might like more than another might get a lower grade than the one I've given in the past. But it's just because I'm trying to give a grade to the movie that I watched just that time.
Mm. So we'll move down to like 30%, and 30% is a bad movie. That's hands down. It's gone a little bit past bad. It doesn't even necessarily need a lot of work to be good. It just needs to be a better movie. Yeah.
30 to 0 in my opinion they're all terrible movies. It's just a varying degree of how much credit I want to give to small parts of the movie.
Yeah, like I don't know what I've given 30%. I can't remember. I know I've given movies 30% before. Yeah. I just can't remember exactly what they are.
Right.
And so that's pretty much it is. 30% is at that level where it's a bad movie. Like I said, 50% is like a level where like it's kind of back and forth. 40% is a level where it's like a bad movie, but there's decent amount of stuff good with it. Mm-hmm. And 30% is just like a bad movie, where it had some good things in it, but it's like not enough for me to care like whatsoever. And I do it to give the credit pretty much. And after that, I would say they started kind of meshing together a lot more.
Right.
You know, and until you get to 0, which I've never given a movie 0. I think the only movie, I'll say this, the only movie I can say that I would give a 0 is Super Troopers 2. We watched that last year. We didn't review it, but if we reviewed it, I would have given it 0%. Because that's one movie where it's like, I really feel like there was no work put into that movie. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, there obviously was, but not any more work than any other bad movie out there, you know. I've given 2 movies 10%. I've given Holmes and Watson 10%, and I gave what's that movie? Truth or Dare 10%.
Oh yeah. And
10% is just like, it was awful, a terrible, awful movie. But it's like, okay, you know, I'll give it a little bit of something because I could see some work, some amount of work put in there from somebody. I don't know who it was that put the work in there, but it was somebody who did it. I'm giving them the credit for it. That's pretty much what that percentage is. So there you go, guys. Just to recap, just to go over it. The main ones I want to make sure people understand is 70 and 60%. 70 and 60% are not bad movies. They're just movies that need quite a bit of work on it.
Right.
Especially 60% needs quite a bit of work. 70% needs quite a bit of work, but it's a solid movie. 60% is a little bit of a weaker movie, but it's good. It's good. So just remember those. Everything under is kind of obvious, and everything above is decently obvious. So I just want to put those out there. And like Zach said, there are some movies that we like more than another movie that will give the lower score. You know? So even if a movie's better, it doesn't necessarily mean the score is going to be higher. I mean, within reason. Like I'm not going to say like I'm going to give a movie a 40% over like a 90%, and the 40% is better. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching this. We just wanted to put this out here because I've been really thinking about making this video because honestly, like at the very beginning of doing these kind of grades, it kind of gets to you like, oh, okay, well, honestly, like I really need to start, like whenever you start doing the grades, you start kind of getting confused yourself. Yeah,
because it's such a big range.
Yeah, the first time we ever did these grades was the first It movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that movie, the first It movie we gave.
Pretty fitting.
Yeah,
doing this now.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I didn't even think about that. The first time we did the percentage of grades was for It from 2017, and during that time was like this weird kind of time of giving movies probably higher grades or lower grades than I should have. I think I still stick with my 90%, but whenever it came to, I think I gave like Justice League like an 80%.
Yeah, I think I gave Justice League like a 70.
Yeah, I probably give like lower. Like honestly, like I give it a really low grade. And so now we're starting to get a really good grasp on this percentage and make it kind of convey a lot more of how we feel. Anyways, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, comment and let us know what you think about these grading systems. You know, and maybe like if there's any other questions that you have about these grading systems that we can possibly answer, maybe some things in the past of grades we've given movies that doesn't make any sense to you, maybe you have some questions on why we gave them those grades.
And don't forget to follow us on social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at 2AwesomeMen.
And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see us later.